Good morning, everybody. How we doing today?
Good morning. How are you?
I am wonderful, thank you.
Good, doing good too.
Awesome, awesome.
John, this is more of a technology question. With so many different calendars, what program do you use to keep all your calendars in one place?
So I work off of Google Calendar, and then I just have different tabs selected for each one. So like I have my personal one, and then I've got everybody else in our company, and then I've got like certain ones like tasks.
Thanks.
No problem.
Hi, John.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Good.
I have a question about calendar while we're talking about that. I was on the Ren dashboard, and the times for the classes, I can only see like the first digit and like half of the second. So like, for example, I thought this one started at 12 because I couldn't see the whole time. I'm guessing it started at 12:15. I just left it running in the background.
Okay, that's a great question. Let's see here. Are you looking at it on your phone or on a desktop?
On a desktop. I'm on a Mac.
Okay. So when I'm looking in here on the dashboard, it does say like 12:15p, 1:15p. So it could be a setting with your browser.
Great. Okay.
That or we could always look into that with you. There was also two trainings scheduled on Wednesdays. There's a Ren new client launch, and then there's the training with us, which
Yep.
is one's 12, one's 12:15. So there might have been some confusion there.
Okay. I wonder if it's just a setting.
It must be a setting on mine too. Same thing, Amy.
Oh, same thing for you. Okay,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad it's not. Okay.
Yeah, we actually,
And I'm on a Mac as well, so
oh,
it might
okay.
be the Mac.
Maybe it's the Mac. All those Mac users, boy, I'm telling you, they're trouble. They're
Yeah,
trouble.
well, that's what you get with the Apple products. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, but we actually did talk about this in our development meeting this morning on improvements we're going to make. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to take Sunday and Saturday off the calendar, so it spreads it out so it's easier to see. And then we're also going to let everybody know we're adding in bold letters that it's EST time. And then in phase 2 of the calendar, we're going to try to make the time zones dynamic, so it'll pop up in your time zone wherever you are. But that's going to be down the road. So hopefully you'll see it'll be a little bit more visually pleasing in a couple weeks.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank
I'm-
you.
But I am on a Mac and it does show full, so I don't know what the setting
Oh,
different
yeah.
settings are. So it's something in the settings. So
Okay, Scott, get
Not
back in your
computer.
corner.
okay. No, I'm a Mac man.
Just kidding.
Angela for the win.
There we go. Very good. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. If this is your first time joining the listing domination secrets class, just please introduce yourself and let us know who you are, where you're from, and if somebody has a referral in your marketplace, how they get a hold of you.
I'm new. This is my first time with this meeting. I'm
Okay.
with Blackstone Ocean Properties. I work under Donnie Bennett.
Awesome.
So I'm a very new agent, so everything is brand new to me. I don't even know if somebody was a referral, how would they get a hold of me? Probably through the website or my email, I would assume. Phone number. Yeah.
All right. Cool. That's great. Anybody else? Do we have anybody else new today? All right. I think everyone's good to go for today. So what I want to do a quick recap on what our goal is to accomplish here. So the whole idea with this particular class is to develop the skills and the systems to work towards generating 100 listings a year. And I know for a lot of people that's like, wow, like I'm just trying to get my first 20, right? And for some people, you're already kind of sitting at 20 or 30. And you're like, I need to get to 100. And this is kind of like a really good fit. And so there's a lot of moving components to get to 100 listings. It's not something that happens overnight. And so, but what we've done is basically laid out what I've done in the past, and some top producers that I coach and consult now are doing now, that are either knocking on the door at 100 listings or doing over 100 listings. And so what we're doing is methodically going through a checklist, if you will, on all the things that you need to have in place, and the people, process, and tools, and the skills that have to get developed around that to be able to achieve that goal. Now, for some of you, that might come through a combination of yourself, and maybe you have another listing agent on your team that you want to incorporate into this goal of setting 100 listings. But the reason why we're so focused on listings is that it's one thing to do. It's one thing to make 6 figures. It's another thing to make 7 figures, but it's another thing to make 6 figures and 7 figures and actually have a lifestyle while you're doing it.
Mhm.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Heck yeah.
So, we all have different goals, dreams, different desires, different things we're trying to accomplish and do and achieve. And as much as I'm aware of that, if you can find a smarter way to do it, why wouldn't you do it smarter, right? So, for example, I gain leverage not to work less, but I gain leverage so I can work on other things, right? Some people want leverage because they want to work less, then that's okay too. But the point is, it gives you, listings give you leverage. We've heard that. And that's why I'm, if I look at my career and why I was able to quickly go from knowing nothing about the business to generating a whole bunch of listings to then creating an unbelievable inside sales organization to scaling and then getting into multiple different ventures in business. It's because I refused to work with buyers. I just didn't do it. And it hurt in the beginning. It was a little bit more of a ramp up, and there was more of a learning curve. And by the way, I'm not suggesting that anyone does that tomorrow, by the way. Okay. I'm not suggesting that you just stop working with your buyers. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I am suggesting though, is that if your goal is to either have a better lifestyle or your goal is to build a team, right? And you're really trying to grow that team, listings is the cornerstone of that process, whatever one your goal is, right? So just a little bit of background on where we're going and why we're doing what we're doing. And also just a reminder that when you're in the trenches and you're dealing with sellers, because they can be difficult, just keep that North Star in your mind. Why you're choosing to work with sellers more than buyers, because of the leverage that it brings. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So we on the same page? So, if I could I'm going to share my screen, and if you guys could go to your dashboard. So first things first, go to your dashboard, open your dashboard up, and just drop in the chat when you have your dashboard up. All right. So next, what you want to do is you're going to click on the Academy. And then you want to click on listing, scroll down and click on listing domination secrets. And for those of you that are like, you want to get ahead of it and you want the entire roadmap, this is the entire checklist of everything. Okay. Now, every one of you have different things that you need to work on based on where you're at, but this is your checklist to 100 listings. Okay. And some of you are going to get through it. You're going to get it. You're going to knock it out and get everything where you need it to be in 3 to 6 months. And then it's optimization. Others might take you longer. it doesn't matter how long you get there, just don't lose sight of this checklist. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So, because literally I broke down what it takes from setting the goals to developing the right habits and routines of a top listing agent, and to what it takes along the way. And then there's you just go back to the playbook. So if you go to the playbook, and what I'm going to do is kind of put page numbers on where to associate these things in the playbook and where to go to find the different resources that you need, in addition to supplement these classes. So eventually this is going to turn into a master class, but this is the sheet that we're working off of. So you guys know what to expect and to set the stage today. All right. So we're going to spend the next 15 minutes just going through some basics of looking at where you're at, how you're tracking your metrics, looking at your goals, looking at your habits and routines. And then after that 15 minutes, we're going to get back into what we've been working on within our executing on our sales and marketing plan. We've been working on our listing presentation. So that's kind of what you can expect for today. Is we're going to spend some time just doing a quick recap on some things that we've covered, just for those of you that might have not have been here, and a quick refresher. And then we're going to drill down into the listing presentation. Who got a lot of value out of that listing presentation conversation that we had last week? If you were here, that you got some golden nuggets by show of hands or chat. So we're gonna continue that. We're gonna continue building out that script. But I just want to talk about a few things. It's very difficult to get past and get through all of these things if you don't have a very clear North Star. And so that's why I put this. You got to have a clear income goal, and you got to know exactly how many listing opportunities you have to land in order to achieve that goal. Okay. And then from there, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you're tracking your progress, how many conversations, appointments, and presentations you're having to get to that goal. Those are some basic fundamentals. And if you haven't had a chance to go through that, you just go back to this course here. And all of that is laid out in detail on how to do your sales calculator, tracking your metrics, and making sure that you have your time schedules set up to achieve your goals. Okay. So it's all tracked there. I am a firm believer that if you're not tracking your progress, it's going to be very tough. So it's going to be very tough to identify and keep yourself on course with everything that's going on. So just make sure that you do that. You go back and check that out if you haven't done that yet. Give you an example really quick of what this should look like. Let me just pull up my document here. Dashboard. Ideally, if you have clear goals and you're operating with efficiency and you really want to grow a dynamic business, these are the things that you should be tracking on a daily basis. And I know for some of you that have come back here often, you're like, oh, here he goes talking about the tracking tool again, talking about the metrics again. But I believe this level of repetition is so important because I found that teams who start doing this thrive. Individuals that start doing this, they thrive. And when they start tracking their progress, okay, on a daily basis, and they go in and they're actually looking at their activities to make sure their activities hit their goal, they end up doing amazing things. Okay. Any questions so far before we move on to today's training?
It's just horrible to see the thing with nothing getting done, I have to say. That's why you track it, right?
That's exactly it.
You gave it to us and I was tracking and I didn't track for 3 days and I just went, ah.
Right. Good. So it's almost kind of like an accountability tool in a way, right? If I'm hearing you right, like it's kind of like, and it motivates you to get back on track quicker, when you see it. And I think that's a really good point. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think for a lot of people, we can let time go, like too much time go by, and it just slips our mind. And then all of a sudden we're completely off course. I hope I'm not the only one that's ever happened to, right? Like, so like it happens to all of us, right? So, so again, if you are aware of this tool and you're not using it, okay, make a commitment, burn your ship, and just trust the process for 30 days and watch what happens. Okay. I work closely with a team called the Brown team. They did this. They went through every single part of that sheet and did it daily, religiously they're approaching their 30 days. And they have made some self-corrections that no joke, in 1 month, okay, in 1 month, through making some self-corrections with their whole team, they're going to probably bring in about 20 grand in commissions that they wouldn't have brought in just by taking 15 minutes a day, folks. 15 minutes, that's all it takes to update it, maybe 20, right? So you make it part of your routine, and you'll start identifying problems. So I'll give an example. They were using this for their team, and so they would have daily meetings with their team, and they'd be going over this, and they identified that their Zillow leads were only getting called like twice. And so their team was like going through their leads, or they were going through, and their team was asking for more leads, right? They're asking for more leads. And they're like, well, wait a second. Like I'm looking at your sheet here, and it shows you made 20 calls, like, and you have 100 leads sitting there. You guys get what I'm saying? Those are the things that'll do. So whether you're a team leader or it's just you, it's a really powerful tool, not in a negative way, but just in a positive way to talk through things and just be better together. Okay. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, Isaiah, I just want to let you know, I in my 24 years, I never had a sheet like this, or never tracked. And so it's just been mind blowing to have this, but you just gave me another good aha, because John created a problem for me with Whitley. I have 13 leads that came in. And so based on that suggestion you just gave, I think I'm even going to put like the lead in that row, say, Whitley or Facebook leads, etc. And then the next step below that, another row to say, okay, follow up, right? So then I'll look at, okay, say, February, whatever day it is today, the 9th, February 9th,
Yep.
Facebook leads, 8 came in. And then, okay, if there's a 0 underneath that, not good, right?
It's really good. Yeah.
So you just got me thinking that there, bro.
Good. That's a really good idea. So just so everyone's on the same page with what John's talking about, I'm going to go back to the screen quick.
Oh, by the way, hi everyone, I'm new. Nice to meet you. Learn. Lots to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So the good thing, so what John's talking about is he'll have his Zillow leads, right? And then I think you were talking about adding how many times you followed up, like how many follow calls.
Right. Like say,
Right.
or Facebook leads, whatever.
Mhm.
And then below that, okay, follow up, just that line, say follow up of Facebook leads. So then if it's 0 for that day, I've had, say, so many have come in, then shoot, okay, why am I not, that's not good for
Yeah,
accountability. Yeah.
that's good. Awesome. Cool. All right. Any other questions before we move on to today's training?
There's some people that don't know where you are with your monthly sheets.
Oh, like where to find them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So a couple ways to find them is if you go into that technology and marketing secrets course, there's a copy of the link in there. And then also if you're in the academy and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, actually, John, why don't you have, it's such an important tool. I want to add it to the resource section at the bottom. So there's an easier way to find it. For now, let's just drop the link in there, John. So that way we don't have to log them into the tech class and show them where it is, just for sake of time. If you could drop that link in. That sound good? Here's where it will be.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute.
Sorry. Here's where it will be, guys. So underneath this resource section here. So if you go into the Academy from the dashboard here, and then you get to the resource section, it'll be here. It'll just say tracker. And let's put the sales calculator there too, John. Just have Clara, ping Clara to have her do it quick. She probably have it up and running by the end of this class because it's not too hard to add, but I know what she's got going on. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and pick back up on our conversation with the listing presentation. So for your notes, has everyone got something to write with? I want to make sure that we have something to write with here. And what's really important when you're looking at the psychology of your listing presentation, like we talked a lot about this last week, which is a quick review. We want to make sure that we have the right steps to the listing presentation, and it has the psychology that we need in there to make sure that we're converting. We can maximize our conversion rates. So there's not it's not by chance that somebody can go out there and one agent can land 70% or 90% of all of their listings with people they don't know, right? And then other agents struggle, right? It doesn't happen by chance. So what we do is there's a success formula to it. And that's where these 7 steps come from, is it breaks down the psychology of influence. The process of influencing somebody is where these 7 steps come from. So just a quick reminder of the 7 steps. The first one is building rapport and qualifying. So step number 1, building rapport and qualifying. So step number 2 is building value. So what makes you different. That's the core of what you do and how your process works, how you're different than your competition. And then the next step, the third step, is creating desire. And that's where you kind of roll into timing and urgency. Make sure that you have timing and urgency built into your presentation. And then from there, your next step 4, is your trial close, where you're enrolling, right? You're enrolling them. That's your trial close. And then 5 is you're going to have your objections come out, right? You're going to have objections that come out. And then from there, you're going to have step 6 is more afterwards. If you can't get it, you got to have really strong follow-up. So step 6 is follow-up, right? And then 7 is tracking your metrics, which we just went over, right? And it's important because what happens is if we don't and here's the psychology behind this. If we don't have a script and a presentation to match that, and our process is different every single time that we do something, how can we ever make improvements because we don't have a process to know if it's us, if it was the person, if you did something different. And so that's where, like, yeah, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people here that can win a lot of listings just because your personality, right? Or your knowledge base, you've been doing it so long, or your referral base. But I'm talking about next level closers right now, like becoming a next level closer where you're just so dynamic. You're so nasty in a positive way that you go out there and it's just, what you're doing, and you have this process down to a science. And that's what we're working on with this listing presentation. So for your notes, for those of you that were here last week, we started scripting out the beginning of it. And so does anybody have your notes up from last week? If you joined last week, so we can do that recap. What's the first thing that we talked about doing when we get our foot in the door? What do we talk about, just as a quick recap before we move on to the next step?
Tour the house.
Tour the house. Yep. What's the objective when you tour the house? What's the goal?
To have them show you the home and overcome any objections that they may have as you're going through. Build a rapport.
Yep. Building rapport.
But let them show the house as if they were going to sell it to me. Yeah,
that's the key. Have them show you the house as if they were going to sell it to you. That's
And
the
building-
key. And
Building trust.
right. And so that way they're gonna be more open to talking to you when you say that, because they're gonna, instead of going around being all skeptical, like, why are we walking around the house? They're gonna be like, oh yeah, well, let me, and they're gonna communicate, right? And a lot more, I guess they're gonna give you more, a better way to say it is they're gonna give you more detail. So that's really important. And I know, Audrey, you took some really great notes too. We had a chance to kind of go through that. And so if you have something too that you want to add to the building rapport section, that'd be awesome. But one of the things that is really important throughout that process is that you're asking the right questions to draw out pain and motivation. So you're asking the right questions throughout that process to draw out pain and motivation. Right? That's super, super important. You're asking the right questions, draw out pain and motivation. And within that, you're looking at this process and you're like, okay, well, I'm drawing out pain and motivation, but you're also connecting with them with the Ford principles. So we talked about that last week too. Is Ford stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So you're looking at different things you can relate to in between the questions. So it doesn't feel like you're peppering them with questions, like question after question after question, right? And is this a freaking interview, right? Like that's what will start happening if we're not kind of building rapport and we're not pointing things out in the house, out in the house. Like if you notice the golf, or maybe that you saw some awards on the wall from their job, or whatever it may be, anything that you can do to relate to them along the way. And it's a great way to build rapport as you're asking questions. So at that point, what we did is we also identified that before this process happens, sometimes we get some really nasty knee jerks, right? Some people that are just like, oh yeah, I just want the value of my house, right? So can we do a quick recap for those of you that took notes last time? What were some of the knee jerks that we identified last week?
I'm not comfortable showing in my house right now.
Yep.
I'm interviewing a couple other agents.
I'm interviewing a couple other agents. Yep.
How much is your commission?
Angela's on it. I love it. I love it. She's on
I
it.
don't even know where my notes are.
Yep. It's good. What other ones were there? So this is
Testing
our
the market.
Say it again.
I'm just testing the market.
Just testing the market, right? So before I move on, I want to make sure that we have those scripted out, right? So if we know, here's what's important. This is this process is an art and a science, right? So the art of it is our personality and what we bring to the table and the emotions behind it. But the science of it is making sure that we have things scripted out. So we have consistency and we're using the same process or a very similar process every time. So just honest and open, because everyone's at different places right now. With those objections on a scale of 1 to 10, if somebody gave you those objections that you just heard, how quickly could you respond to them to keep the conversation moving forward, to get through the house without freezing or without feeling flustered or having to think? And drop that in the chat, or if somebody wants to communicate and talk through that.
Hey, Isaiah.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, man?
Good. I think our team, we're pretty much, at least Audrey and I over here.
Yep.
So we're about a 7 or an 8 on that.
That's good.
Perfect.
How about everybody else? Where are you guys at? Like where you get those and boom, you know exactly what you're going to say, right?
I would have to give it a 7 or 8. Just depends on my day.
Yeah.
Really.
What's going? Yeah.
Sometimes when you walk in the door, you kind of know, you kind of just have a feeling what their objective is going to be.
Yeah.
And when they throw you a curveball, it's like, wait a minute, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
you know, so if you build enough rapport before you got there, you kind of know what to expect when you walk in the door, what you're gonna have to overcome. But sometimes they probably talk to a family member who's a real estate agent or something, and then you're like, oh, where did that come from?
Yep.
You know, so.
Yep. Very true. So it's important to get to a 9 or 10 as quick as possible, because please write this down. It's impossible to build great rapport if you have to think about what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to be present and actually listen. Right? It's hard to be present and have to listen if you're like, okay, I'm at this stage of my process. What if they throw me this knee jerk? I don't know what I'm going to say. Right. And then all of a sudden we're getting nervous, right? Or whatever it may be. So it's really, really important. Yeah. Go ahead, Shauna.
One thing I would say, I've been doing this for 17 years. And when everybody asks you, what are one of the things that you wish you would have done? I wish I would have dove into scripts for the first 3 years. And that's what I say to new agents, that it's really sad. I mean, naturally, you've learned and stuff, but for the last 6 months, I've really tried to dedicate to scripts more. And it's hard, honestly, to be kind of a veteran in the market and having to learn these scripts. But I didn't buy into it. I really,
right.
And it's sad.
Yeah, it's good. And it sounds like you're experiencing that growth and the results from it. Right. So if you're newer, take Shauna's testimony and get into your scripts if you're newer, right? It's huge. It's huge.
But I can say this, being in the business for 27 years, I'm not going to have all the answers still today, because every transaction is different. And those of you that are brand new in the business, we're not expected to know everything. It's how you handle it and say, hey, that's a good question. Let me get back to you on that. And it may not be a question that you should answer anyway, but I think repeating back, I've slowed down. I've gotten more confident. I can repeat back the question, which will allow me the time instead of just throwing up on them. I think that's helped me through the years. But yes, scripting, you have to know what to say, but that has come with years of experience.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just going to say, sorry,
Okay.
I agree with Angela. That's what I was going to say as well. It just gives you that pause time, even repeating the question back to them. So what you're saying is you have a, concern about, the commission, or you have a question about the commission. I'd be glad to address that with you. After we go through the tour, we'll sit down and go over that, just at least you let them know you're listening to what they just said, but it's not like deers in the headlights, that you go,
right.
You just throw that
Right.
back to them, the question. Yeah.
Right. I want to give you guys a tool to continue this process on your own in between sessions. If you go down and you're on your dashboard, you click on the playbook. There's a section in here where it talks about, let's see here, the listing consultation. Where are you? Page 216. And this is a part of the listing domination blueprint that we're going over right now. And basically it walks you through the mindset of a for sale by owner and expired. It just a quick, some bullet points there. Some mindset of being a trusted advisor, how to handle a call over the phone. But what I want you guys to really focus on for this exercise is looking at these steps. You don't have to agree with every bullet point in the order that you do them, but I want you to use these steps to build your script. Okay. So step 1 is the establishing rapport and qualifying. Step 2 is building value. Okay. We're going to move on to this. We spent a lot of time on step 1, because if you don't nail step 1, you could go through all the other processes and your closing rate's not going to be as good, because the first part of building rapport and asking the effective questions is so important, and getting over those knee jerks. And that's why we're spending so much time there. But for the tail end of today's meeting, we're gonna go over building value and start getting into that. but I want you to kind of use this and go over this as a checklist to make sure that everything in your presentation is there from a scripting standpoint. Okay. And then you can see here the section of after you've gone through and you've done that walkthrough, now you're going to actually get into the meat of your listing presentation. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. So does anybody have any additional questions on building rapport and qualifying and the importance of actually having a script in place for every knee jerk that you're going to get along the way?
You have the objections in the book.
So these specific objections are mapped out a little bit different, and they're not actually associated with the listing presentation, but you can find them within the scripts and the dialogues.
Okay.
What my commitment's going to be though is Bobby and I are getting together, and because we want to practice what we preach. And Bobby and I just joined forces, so we're matching up our processes here a little bit. And so we'll actually have and show you guys our script along with the objections. So Bobby committed to having that by next Wednesday. Okay. He's like, yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about building value. All right. So we've gone through, just kind of imagine that you're in the homeowner's house and you're looking at building value. What does that look like? So Bobby, walk us. Is Bobby there? Is he out? Is he off and walking around? All right.
I'm here. I was just on mute.
Okay, cool. So Bobby, where we're at right now is we've had an opportunity to make it through, and now we're actually in the meat of our listing presentation, and we're talking about building value. So I just want to hear from you a little bit before I go on what you do to build value, what you're building value on in your listing presentation.
So the way I build value is I think you have to sell your company first, and then you have to sell yourself. So that's what the listing presentation is designed. And then the value points is, what our company offers, right? If we're doing national, international marketing, some of our softwares, our unique value propositions, just like we touched on earlier, I don't basically give them the house with the unique value propositions. For example, the easy exit listing, the 100% sold guaranteed and stuff like that. So what I will do is I will use those ones as bargaining chips, but everything else that's listed there, for example, 1 second, I'm gonna make the screen bigger. The 55-point marketing plan, to service the vendors, the partnerships, I think those are huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I also, have that in my listing presentation where I'll drop, big names where, partners or one of our vendors is Real Estate Nexus. Here's what they offer. Another vendor we use or another partner we have is, Whitley. Here's what they offer, and here's, how that could benefit with the sale of your house. Because no other, realtor gets really into each vendor in detail. And obviously the bigger names you drop, the more credibility it adds on to you.
And that's why it's important to understand the psychology of what the homeowner really cares about. Okay. They care about we've probably heard these before, but they care about three things. They care about how much money they're going to get from the house, right? How much and what time frame that it's going to be sold in, and how much hassle is going to be involved in this process, like how much of a headache it's going to be. So in the building value part of your script, you need to script out how you're helping them with those concerns. Does that make sense to everybody? So the big problem here is like, hey, so we're going to help you, yeah, and here's what we do different, and here's how we're going to market your home. Well, who cares? Who cares how you're going to market my home? What does that mean? Don't assume they understand the benefit of a good marketing plan.
Mhm.
What you do is you say, in your scripting, you say, all right, so here's the different things that we're going to do. And here's how we're going to market your home. And we find that because we're marketing both nationally and internationally, and because we're going to get more exposure to your property, we're going to have a bigger pool of buyers to choose from. And because that bigger pool of buyers is going to allow us to have more selection, because John, it's not about having a offer, it's about having the right offer. Would you agree, John? Do you guys get how I just didn't talk about the marketing plan, but I related to them the benefit of the marketing plan and what it's going to do for them. So
Jose, can I add
go ahead.
something I like from Bobby's as well? And even letting them know, like taking, if they think, oh, what about so-and-so company, how Bobby ties that into the listing presentation, showing the visual of all the other companies that he is promoting through, that they're promoting Mr. and Mrs. Seller's listing as well on your behalf or Bobby's behalf.
Oh yeah. Like how
I love that.
Your
I love
marketing
that.
ties into, that's huge. Yep. That's huge. So what I want to do is I'm going to pause for a second here. And I want you to look at your listing presentation, the part of it where you're building value. And I want you just to jot, we're going to just pause to jot some ideas on how you could better communicate that part of your script and separate yourself from your competition. Yes, Charisse, we actually are going to dive into the different unique value propositions next week, and you'll have an opportunity to come back next week, and we'll actually show you I don't think it's 55 points anymore. It's different than that, but we'll definitely show you what we show the client. So let's throw some ideas out there while you're writing. What are some things that you can say and position in your listing presentation to help them with time, money, and hassle?
We offer a free staging consultation as well as free photography once their home is ready to be photographed after they do the things that the stager tells them to do. This will help us sell the home much faster. Plus, we also do the coming soon listing where we put the house on the market on coming soon on Wednesday, and we do an open house on Saturday. So we increase the momentum. So by the time that we go live on Saturday, then we have an influx of buyers.
So you notice Angela didn't just tell me what she did. She associated it with the benefit to them directly. So when you're going through your process, I want you just to, be real, how well you're associating the features to the actual benefits. It's so important. It's such an important part of this process. Because you could go through your whole presentation, they could be shaking their head and they're really not connecting the importance. Who just got convicted a little bit? Then maybe we can work on that, right? So it's very important. What are some so let's talk about value, like some things that we absolutely need to have to separate ourselves from the competition. So would you guys agree that communication is really important? Right? And I don't know if you guys know this, but the average seller, that's the number one complaint a seller has with an agent is communication. So you might want to consider, if they bring it up as a concern, having a communication guarantee. right? We already talked about the 55-point marketing plan. That's another thing, right? What if they're concerned? What if they're concerned and they give you an objection how they want to list with another agent, right? Or sorry, they want to listen to another agent first before they list with you, right? Well, that's where I would pull out my easy exit listing, because I would say, hey, look, I have an easy exit listing. Let's get the process going. If for whatever reason you interview another agent and they can show you something that's better than me, it's an easy exit listing. We just got a listing doing that yesterday.
I like that a whole lot better than reducing your commission.
Yeah.
This is work for me. I understand that you feel obligated to have another keep an appointment that you made with another agent. If it would make it any easier on you, I'll give them a call and let them know that you're going to list with me. Is that okay?
That's good too.
And I love making that phone call.
Yeah.
They're like, would you do that? I'm like, yeah, I would do that. I'm like, yes, I'll do that. I'll absolutely do that.
That's a great phone call. Absolutely. Cool. So you look at their other pain points, like another pain point, nobody likes updating their house, right? So like having a list of vendors available to them is another unique value, right? We're, vendor partners.
Yeah, and having those vendor partners that are willing to be paid at closing outside of proceeds helps
Yes.
a lot.
Huge.
But they're going to have to be someone that you've worked with in the past that know you and trust you.
Right, they trust you.
Yep. So it may start off as, hey, I need you to do this job.
Right.
And then you build into that. So
That's good. Another big pain point for a lot of people is right now in today's market is they're concerned that they're gonna not be able to find another house, right? So what program can you put together that's of unique value that is really something you would do anyway, but you can just put a fancy name around it?
well, there are things called a bridge loan, and because of the fact that we have so much equity in the houses today that we didn't see maybe 8 years ago, there's a good possibility that they can do a bridge loan straight into the next house that they're purchasing.
Right. That's good.
Isaiah,
Yes.
I saw one the other day of one of my competition. They have at a rent back guarantee, like find your house or a rent back guarantee. So in other words, they put that into their unique value proposition that, hey, don't worry, you're going to find that one. And if not, we'll negotiate on when we sell your house that you can stay in it for, X months until we find you your right house.
Love it. Rent back guarantee. So do you use all of these at the same time? Do you talk about them all at the same time during your presentation? You don't, right?
No.
You have your core value, which is your marketing plan, right? And you're talking about that. And then what happens is all these other ones that you can use situationally, but you should have something planned out for every single situation that you're going to run into. So that way you're not losing anybody because you can't handle their concerns or their situation. And it's got to be something that's in writing. It's got to be like on a flyer. Nothing, it doesn't have to be fancy, but it just, don't just say it verbally, right? Hey, this is what we do, right? Have it part of your marketing arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
Make it part of your marketing materials.
What are your suggestions, Isaiah?
For adding value or for value propositions?
For the fact that people are scared to sell their house and not have a place to live.
I love that. I love that that rent guarantee. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have, but put it and put a fancy title to it and make it like a nice flyer, like, and just something that you can hand out and you can market.
I think our buyers and sellers today are a little bit more understanding than they used to be. But I do know with the situation, I have a situation that happened yesterday with a listing, and they are buying a new home. So I had to ask all the questions. What stage are you in? Do we have windows? Do we have doors? Do we have,
Yeah.
we have all the components that are needed
Right.
to finish this house in a timely manner, so we know when to list.
Hmm.
Because our construction is so far behind.
Yes. So that's another great point of why questions are so important, because we have to how can we speak to their timeframes, their motivations, right? And their pains if we're not asking those questions. And it's really hard to handle the time, money, hassle, psychology if we're not asking those right questions, right? And so that's really good. That's really good, Angela. So let's come up with some action steps. Okay. So the action steps for today's exercise is to make sure that you have in your presentation, you have your unique value very clearly mapped out in your presentation. That's standard, but then you also have other things that you're doing for your UVPs, your unique value propositions in your back pocket for the different situations that are coming up. Okay. So that's the goal for between now and next week to really think through that.
Isaiah, do y'all have anyone that you can recommend to help put together a nice, mature listing presentation?
Yeah, like a graphic artist or somebody. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would start off by, let me share this with
So I
you.
would email John Lehman at realestatenexus.io.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll get it in like 3 weeks because of all of his projects.
Oh, no, I'll send you a 1099 from JR Design and Photography. No worries.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh.
All right, so if you scroll down here, you can see Bobby's template. If you guys want to go back and reference it, just as far as the flow of it,
Right.
this is a reminder. So if you go here, just dashboard, academy, scroll all the way down to resources. And another thing that I would recommend, Angela, too, is if you go to Breakthrough Broker and you type in listing presentation.
Okay.
Let's see here. Where are you? They got some really great materials to start with. What I love about this tool is you can do your edit. You can actually do editing right in it. So
I've paid a couple of people, but what they do off of Canva, and
it's not good. Yeah,
it's not. It's so childish looking.
Yeah, it's not good. So this is just one option, if you wanted to mess around with it. A lot of our clients do that. The other thing too is you could a lot of those. Ben Lang's got somebody who's really good too, but she's just jam-packed. I don't know if she could get to it in time. But John, I think, like, all seriousness, we've had this question asked a couple times. We need to look into, like,
just subcontract me, bro.
There you go.
Hey, well, expect an email.
Isaiah, besides John, I have a good contact up this way.
Cool.
Go
ahead.
Very cool.
Okay.
Go ahead and drop it.
Okay.
But yes, we should definitely look into that.
So John, you're going to drop the contact in there.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then Isaiah, just a friendly reminder, we've got 3 minutes until the
Right
event.
until the boot camp.
But the boot camp. Yep. We'll hop right off here. All right. So what are your takeaways? What are your action stops? Please drop them in the chat so we're on the same page. How you doing, Thomas? It's good to see you, brother.
Good to see you. Only caught the last half, but it was very good.
Good.
With regard to people who are moving, if they're over a certain age, like 55 or so, there's actually, I found organizations that will actually help those people find places that are available in over 55 communities. If they're older and they're trying to get into a nursing home and having difficulty with that, they'll also do that. One of them is called Care Patrol. Another one, what is it? Something Helping Mom. It's another one.
Okay.
Yeah. I deal with a lot of seniors.
All right, good. All right, work on getting a listing presentation, the value propositions in writing. That's good. Remember where you have access to some pretty powerful tools too. And I know there's a lot, but I wanna remind you on the different things that you have access to. So as far as templates go, if you go into this Ren Marketing Toolkit, there's a whole section in there called Listing Domination Secrets. And that will that'll get you in. So you'll log in here. I'm running out of time, so I can't spend the time to log into it. But it'll look like, let's see here. Let me just go over here. If you want a sample of other listing presentations and the things that we're working on, listing toolkit. I think we shared this folder with you guys yesterday, or sorry, last week. But you have samples of Benjamin Lang's listing presentation right here. You have some samples of a marketing calendar.
Are you wanting to be sharing your screen?
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, it is 1:15. All right. So listing domination toolkit. I'm going to drop this link in here so you guys can bookmark it, but it's also in your academy. And if you look, just go digging into this folder. We have a lot of really good stuff in here. Like here's samples of our unique value propositions. They're very simple documents that you can build off of. So there's a whole bunch of really good stuff in here. There's samples of a credibility packet, the listing presentations that we're working on together, some questions that you can ask. Okay. So go ahead and check that folder out for some really good tools as well. Is that good with everybody? We good for today?
Perfect.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Somebody could
See you in a
drop
minute.
that link in here really quick before I'm going to drop this link right now. Go ahead and click on it quick. And then so you can save it before we hang up. Everyone got it?
All right, have a good day, everybody.
Okay. See ya. Bye.